What's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. We're back at it again. I've got a whole week full of awesome guests. And I don't know if I told you guys yet, but this past weekend, I went to quite possibly the coolest city on earth, New York City, with my family. We had an absolute blast. I ended up we ended up doing a lot of fun things. And today, my guest, his name is Kevin. We're going to be talking about how he essentially went from 20 years of selling media, and then he finally decided to build his own. He's building a really, really cool project called Channel NYC. We're going to learn all about Kevin and what he's building. Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
Pretty good, Sonny. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. Like I was saying, I'm just electrified by your city. I just came back, so couldn't be a better advocate for you right now. So are you a New Yorker? Were you born and raised there?
Lifetime, born and raised, did it all right here. A little short state, a couple out of state places, but 99.9% of my time I've been in New York City.
Cool, man. So kick us off. What is Channel NYC? Why should people, care? Tell me a little bit about the story itself, and then we'll go deeper.
Great question to ask. Channel NYC is New York City's first standalone streaming platform for entertainment and information. It's city-based information along with content that has been built for New York City residents and visitors. So essentially, it's a one-stop shop resource for anything and everything related to New York City video content and information.
I'm really excited to get kind of deeper into that and the story behind it and all. But let's talk about, I find talking about companies and tech and all that stuff falls a bit flat if we don't know a little bit more about the guest, right? So, Kevin, you spent 20 years selling advertising against other people's media. What did that teach you about what an audience actually is worth?
Well, it's a great question to ask, Sonny. And the thing about it, media's changed so much in the way that it's been sold compared to, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years ago when I first got started. I was at the last vestiges of print converting into digital back when they had yellow pages, yellow book, things of that. Also had a background in selling radio. Now radio has become podcasting, so to speak. And then digital has taken over for print. But the point is, when you're selling any kind of advertising, it's who is the target market and how's it compared to what other vehicles can you use to reach that particular customer?
Yeah, I like that. I'm an engineer, entrepreneur. Marketing is one of those things that it's a tough one because it's not so linear. It's not so algebraic or logical. Sometimes there's that human. Well, not sometimes. There's always that human component to it, which makes it more like an art sometimes than even a science, right? But so you separated from Adweek in November 2022, and then spent a year trying to get hired. What did that teach you about yourself and this new entrepreneurship road that you've embarked upon?
Well, the funny thing about Sunny, in the year of unsuccessfully trying to stay into media and find out all the places that I had as clients had no interest in having me work there. It was very frustrating, only because I would see openings for things that I could have done easily, even in my sleep in a heavy coma, and just to not even make it to an interview. Very frustrating. So I did the next logical thing, Sonny. I hired myself. I started Channel NYC. 5-minute interview, no callbacks, decision on the spot.
Well, I love that, man, because one of my overall theses is that this whole AI thing, everyone's freaking out about it, but I can't help but feel that it's gonna force our hands into entrepreneurship, right? Whether we like it or not. So okay, I was gonna ask you, so at what point did you kind of stop looking for a job and start building a company? Like, do you remember that day? Like, and what were those first few steps that you took? Because I love paving that path for others as well.
Well, you know what it is? When I started seeing the same, when I ran out of places to apply, okay? And you would think with all the resources that there are in media for different places, I even went non-media, looking for things outside of media because I've done sales and things besides advertising media. That didn't get me any results. And as the months went on, I got less and less responses to my applications, to getting lower counts for interviews. And it suddenly dawned on me, it's highly unlikely that I'm going to get hired for anything other than something if I do it myself. And that's how the transitioning towards the latter part of 2023 started to get me thinking about what could I do that I've been interested in doing for the longest time. And it wasn't a direct linear connection between advertising and building the platform, but it wasn't very far away.
Mm. Kevin, most like NYC video is either tourist bait or, doom scroll content, right? When did you realize that nobody was making the honest middle?
That's another good question. When I first went to look up something for New York City, thinking that there'd be some kind of platform, at least 2, 3, or 4 platforms doing what I had envisioned, I thought it had already been established. And the closest I could find was something that actually was back in the mid-90s called Cityscape. It wasn't actually still around at the time I started looking to build Channel NYC. But when I did my research and I was getting lots of information, I came across a McKinsey white paper, and they talked about Cityscape. Cityscape was actually cable-based in the mid-90s, along with digital advertising, along with resources. The only thing it didn't have was video, because at that time, streaming video was not a big mainstream. So to answer your question, though, I realized that everything that related to New York City was either on TikTok in different clips or snippets, on YouTube, as you mentioned, the different genres. And then you'd have just anything in between that, which left us an opportunity to put Channel NYC in.
And then, Kevin, local media has collapsed everywhere, right? So do you think it died because people stopped caring or because the money stopped working?
Well, no, for local media, Sonny, believe it or not, it's become so segmented. You have different ways of doing the content distribution now. I'm a perfect example. You can either partner up with the major platforms like a Netflix or a YouTube or a Spotify and those guys, and you can also, they come looking for you if you're a very, let's say, successful creator content-wise. You can also piggyback on these individual platforms like Instagram and Facebook and basically run your own media channel. So as far as local media, it's become what you have different niches collectively in different locations. And now what would normally have been mainstream 20 years ago, broadcast TV, the local TV channels or the local newspapers, they're now falling by the wayside. And you've gotten the studios that create content that are now the major players and the major distributors. But for local media, you've got to take what's available. And it's not necessarily focused on local, not in the traditional sense that we're used to from 20 years ago.
And you call Channel NYC New York's first standalone streaming platform. Like, what does standalone mean, and why does that matter so much?
Great question, because what it means is we're not connected to any other form of media in terms of distribution or in terms of access. So in other words, the same way you go to YouTube, the same way you go to Netflix, it's a standalone platform. We're not piggybacking on something else. So the thing about being standalone just means when you want to get directly connected to Channel NYC, you can go right to the website, or you go right to the link. You can go right to channelnyc.com. And there you go, standalone. So we are able to produce our own content and put it in a location where anybody and everybody can access it. By the way, did I mention it's free?
I think we didn't mention that part yet, but okay.
Yeah.
And I know production and distribution now cost almost nothing, right? So does that make local media viable again, or just louder?
Well, it depends on what your definition of production costs are, because you've got built-in costs for labor, and depending if you're doing it yourself, DIY, which the vast majority of our content has been, even though we're in the process of rebuilding our video content production team. But essentially, the costs are really built into whatever you're using to create your content. Distribution, you can make all kinds of partnerships that cost you next to nothing investment-wise. In fact, that's where you really make your money, from the distribution to outside parties. Other than the fact that you either have subscription fee based, very unlikely, or you have advertising, very likely.
Mm. Can you walk me through what a New Yorker actually does on Channel NYC? Like, what do they open it for?
Great. It's three different separate components to the platform that make it what we would like to call, Sonny, a hybrid. We've got about 20% of the actual platform being VOD, video on demand. So you have different genres of video content, all about New York City or New Yorkers, from parades to top 5 coolest museums to greatest graffiti to working women to Ask Anita, to Welcome to New York City. That's different categories of content involving New Yorkers and New York City. That's one. On the other side of the platform, we have something that's known as business service listings, where you primarily would have gone to Google or local.com or yelp.com to find the top 15 most searched categories of business services, whether it's medical, educational, recreational, restaurants, retail. You get the idea. You can search by borough. You can search by culture, which is another way of saying ethnicity. And you can search by location. And then last but not least, we're rolling out 4 other complementary components. Dating, the job board will be next. And then in 2027, broadcast, what would now be considered local TV, will have broadcast added to the platform.
Oh, I love that. That's smart. Cool. So, and Kevin, you have what, like 15 business service categories or something like that, right? You mentioned. So
correct, top 15, based on the number of search inquiries. So you'd have obviously, I'm sorry, you'd have activities, you'd have what's called attractions, restaurants, let's say beauty, medical, educational, legal. What else do you have? New York City and New York State services. All the major top search categories that you'd have to go to another platform to get that information, you have it all in one location. You know, like I said before, by borough or by culture.
Live programming, you said, is coming, I think, right? You said
2027, correct.
Yeah, job board.
Well, that's different from the live program. The job board will be rolled out in about a month or two. Then dating will be scheduled for a rollout somewhere in early 2027. And probably by this time next year in 2027, we'll have broadcast capability. Broadcast meaning like what you would see in studio, live from, let's say, the live studio broadcast that you now see on local TV. Similar to that, but again, with the twist that only Channel NYC could come up with.
Dating? Like, what are we talking, like Tinder for New York or something?
Well, I don't know if it'd be Tinder, but believe it or not, Sonny, the top 30 sites or categories that people in New York look up, the first 10 were news-based. Channel, you know, the local news, print news, digital news, what have you. The next 10, dating sites. Dating's the top, let's say, top 11 through 20 sites that New Yorkers search for the most. And then last but not least is social media, from sites 21 through 30. Well, category slots. So dating's it's a big industry.
I guess my deeper question though, Kevin, is so is that one product or is that 4?
Well, no, it's actually a combination of 3 complementary service products. So you have the dating, you have the job board, that's 2. You have the business service listings, that's 3. Then you have the video on demand, that's 4, and then broadcast is 5. So, son, your counting's very good. You're accurate. You kept track. You kept score, 5.
Wow, that's ambitious. So, you know, Kevin, just to go back to the video side of it, right? So you're competing with YouTube for New Yorkers' attention, right? So what can you do that YouTube structurally cannot?
Well, essentially, we're outnumbered about 200 to 1, because when we're on YouTube with a YouTube channel, we are just one of at least 100 different creators that put New York City in either their title, their content, whatever they want to call their origins. Having that you search New York City, you'll get one of their channels. What we try to distinguish ourselves from, Sonny, is just what we gave you, our suite of complementary features that distinguish us from the YouTube channel. However, the content is identical for videos. At some point, we're going to lessen our dependence on YouTube by not putting everything out on YouTube at the same time that it's out on Channel NYC. Channel NYC goes first, YouTube will go second in terms of our channel viability and access.
And you know, now it's like all these algorithms, they're not even like social graph based, right? They're more like interest based, what TikTok made famous. So one random person does a little dance on the other side of the world, and just because her dance is really good, I'm just being fed that information versus like getting connected to the people around me that I live, in the same city of or whatever. So I can see how people are yearning for more, connection with the people around them, right? So it's really, really fascinating. The advertiser side better than almost any founder, right? So what do local advertisers keep getting wrong about streaming?
Well, the thing about it is because attribution, the actual measurement and giving credit to where the viewer or the, let's say, call to action actually originated from, that's one of the most difficult things because there's a lot of different touch points for any ad. From the time that you see it on the mobile device, it could have been on the desktop, could have been on the laptop, could have been on your TV screen. Then it may have come through a second provider. It could have been a group of people watching the TV. It could have been individuals. So everybody's trying to get credit for where the ad was actually appearing and who saw it. That's number one. Number two, you have different demographics. Again, if you're depending on the environment where you're watching the actual commercial or the message, and where you're able to actually affect upon it. Like, for example, outdoor. You can't touch an outdoor screen if it's a billboard and you're driving by, you see it on the bus. So it's highly unlikely that you're going to take a screen grab or the QR code and do it right then and there. But you may see that same message replicated on another platform or another source, and they get the credit. So there's different ways that local media that you're trying to get the attention of businesses and find out which one is really in their best interest to reach the most effectively the protect the potential client or customers. That's the challenge right now, Sonny.
Interesting. So you're moving from, there's a little bit of echo there. I'm just going to mute your side. Yeah. So you're moving from soft launch to fully operational, right? So what has to be true before you kind of like flip that switch, Kevin?
Well, right now we need a couple of signature programs, Sonny. We're in the process of using a different method of acquiring content that we're building. When I say acquiring the talented people that we can place in-house and create content that's exclusively found only on Channel NYC. The vast majority of content that you see now on all the platforms, there's very little exclusivity. Even one of the more popular ones that I always cite in examples to prospective content producers, Meet Cutes NYC. Everybody's heard of them. They've been around for about 3-4 years. They're the gentlemen that walk up to people here in New York City and ask, "Are you a couple?" And they usually say yes. And then the people that are the couples being interviewed spend the next 2 or 3 minutes talking about how they met. Here's the key about that, Sonny. They're on 5 or 6 different platforms. Nobody could tell you which platform that they saw it on. They only remember the name of the feature, which is the whole enchilada. You remember that feature? Now you've got something going. But you need to have an identifiable place where it's found at. Just like if you have something exclusively on Netflix or exclusively on YouTube, you can't find any other place. Now you've got a reason for the audience to come to your platform exclusively. That's what we're working on very, 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 very hard, Sonny. That's going to distinguish us from everything else and generate the kind of content visibility that puts us on the map, not just in New York City, but other places where people want to watch New York City related content.
And what is the kind of the show or the series that, if it lands, makes Channel NYC unmistakable?
Well, you know what people like watching Sunday the most? Other people. No matter what, you can get as many video features about the scenery and how I traveled to New York City on 10 cents a day, or I went to 100 top tourist spots. But when you see interaction, interviews, some kind of communication between different people, whether they're the same culture, different cultures, one is old, one is young, male, female, the interaction and what the outcome is what gets people interested in watching content, no matter what you say. And I'm not talking about animals, we're talking about documentaries. They all fall into the same category. You want to see what the interaction is, you want to see what the storyline is, and you want to find out what the outcome is. And if you can repeat that with different people, same kind of entertainment value, it's interesting, entertaining, you've got something that might work well with the audience.
And Kevin, help me land the plane with this one, right? So if this works, right, in New York, does it work in Chicago and Lagos and Toronto, or is New York the only city? You know,
Well, Sonny, that was one of the reasons why we had difficulty trying to get funds through the VC way. We couldn't make the idea really, let's say, scalable in other markets until you establish it in the first market. So to answer your question specifically, it probably would work, but you need boots on the ground. Each city, each market has its innate differences. So what might work content-wise in New York City, it may not work in Houston. It may not work in Chicago. It might not even work in London, but it might work in Sao Paulo. We don't know. But the content about New York City, it's very portable. It works in every other market. But as far as replicating what Channel NYC does for another city, I said it's better than 50-50 chance that it probably could work. Assuming that you have people in those particular cities or markets that know the media landscape well enough to be able to incorporate what made this successful.
Oh, brilliant. Kevin, I love it. I ask you questions, you just like get right to the point, you just answer them, and then you let me go to the next one. You're one of the best guests I've had. Thank you, Kevin, so much. Anything maybe I didn't ask that I should have? Or
well, you covered a lot of ground. You teed up pretty well for me, Sonny. You could also say, where do we see ourselves in 3 to 5 years? That might be a good.
Okay. That is actually usually my last one, but okay.
I got another question. Do you need a co-host?
Oh man, be careful what you wish for. Be careful. I told you I just got back from New York, and I'm looking for reasons to.
Well, yeah, we might use your show on our content when we go live. Now we're talking. No, really quick though, we'd like to be a major player media-wise for New York City in the next 3 to 5 years. That would be the ultimate outcome. So that when you're looking for a media buy, no matter what, Channel NYC is in your must-have, must-do, must-be-on type of choice.
Oh, love the vision, man. Anything we can do to help here, let us know. And with that said, wow, didn't think we'd have so many people listening this early in the morning. Thank you all. Appreciate it as usual. And Kevin, hang out for 1 minute. I'm going to bring this stream to an end. Where do people learn more about you? Is it channelnyc.com?
That is correct. Channel NYC. That's Channel NYC, all one word.com. Yes.
And then Kevin, are you also, you said you do a little bit of posting, right, on LinkedIn. Where do people find you? Is it just under Kevin Trotman?
Yes, Kevin Trotman. Also, you can go to Channel NYC. They have their own page too on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, everyone, stay tuned. I've got another 2 or 3 interviews later today coming, so it's going to be an exciting one. Thank you, Kevin. Your energy. I didn't actually need my coffee this morning. If I would have known, this would have been so much fun. All right, hang up for 1 second, Kevin. See you in the next one.
All right. Good to be with you. Bye.